session, Upstanding in Moments of Bias, Empowering Youth Action Through Skill Sharing. I'm excited to hear what they have to say. I want to welcome you all and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay? Fabulous. I'm Dr. Milks. Mrs. Ratliff and I are so excited to let you hear directly from youth today who have been thinking for several months now about what it means to upstand in moments of bias. So let me tell you a little bit about what that is going to look like. Hang on. There's only one of me. There's several of them. Got it. Okay. So nope, hang on, please hold. Your call is being answered in the moment it was received. I was so close to this being really excellent and straightforward. All right, there we go. All right, so our plan for today is to helpfully get you to a place where we all, as adults who work with youth in our community, are thinking about helping youth develop skills to confront prejudice and bias. So we're going to start with a community brainstorm, asking what skills and dispositions do the youth you work with, or if you don't work directly with youth right now, youth in our community, what do they bring to the work of fighting prejudice, bias, and hate speech? Well, we're going to introduce a guideline from a third-party national organization that we think is really helpful. And then we're going to talk about how our youth group realized that we could modify and use that to really help ourselves and each other skill up. So take it away, Grace.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all having a good day. So for the brainstorm section, we thought we might ask you, what skills and dispositions do your youth bring to the work of fighting prejudice, bias, and hate? So in order to do this, we have a quick little activity prepared for you where we have 7 minutes to say hello and make your shared list. A couple things to remember, though. Different people might have different ideas, and that's awesome. And if we're going to take space, remember to make space as well, and then picking a spokesperson to share when we all come back together. Also, yeah, so please go to this URL and click there or check the chat. Thank you.
Fabulous. Okay, so we are going to share this link with you all, and we're going to pause for a moment to make sure that you have it accessible. So here is in the chat is a way for you to get to our shared workspace. So if you could please go to the chat right now and click into that shared workspace, you'll need it open in a separate window for our breakout room today. They can hear you. You're doing great. Okay, sweet. Okay, so we have 6 breakout slides. This room is room 6. And if you're someone who requires captioning, please stay in this room. Please don't go to your breakout room when it says, do you want to go to a breakout room? And we will work together in that space. We also are going to ask Ruth if you would stay here, and that way we can keep the conversation going. So, all right, any questions in chat or out loud before we send you to this brainstorming thing? I should probably show you what it looks like if you haven't gotten there yet. So if you end up heading to that workspace, wow, I have a lot of tabs open. Do you all have a lot of tabs open? That's just wild. So if you head to that workspace, you'll be able to see that there are different slides. You're going to find the slide that is the same number as your breakout room, and they're labeled up here in the corner. All right, I think I'm ready to stop the share and for folks to head to their breakout rooms.
Okay, I think Nick is setting those up. We'll have 5 breakout rooms and some of us will stay here.
It's like magic.
It is magic.
Wizarded
I can tell youth
away.
are involved. It's all tech savvy.
All right, we're going to go ahead and mute ourselves. This is room 6. So whoever's here and working, if you could head to that slide. I know that someone just re-entered, so I'll give it to you here again. We're going to mute ourselves and we're going to watch what's happening on the big screen. So we'll see you, Nick, if you could give like a 1-minute warning, that'd be great. So 6 minutes starting now. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, can everyone see those slides? The question is, what skills and dispositions do your youth bring to the work of fighting prejudice, bias, and hate? And I think we can share and I can type, or I believe everybody can type in that space directly if you'd like to. Whoops, I'm supposed to list our names. Come on, let's help our youth. They want us to participate. Kara's smiling. Kara, do you have anything you would like to type in here?
I would put that they, in just my opinion, the kids that I see, I'm obviously only about 6 or 7 years older than them. So I grew up with technology too. But I think being able to see what's going on in the world in real time is something that wasn't a luxury to the older generations. And it's really helpful to get the perspective of not just the side that's been portrayed in the media mostly, which is, I mean, in my opinion, the majority racially, but also the minority side as well. And I think a lot of things that happen these days, they need proof. And that can be done with videos in real time of every perspective. And I think that just really shows things that, I mean, like I said, older generations haven't been able to see.
Okay, I tried to capture that. Feel free to edit
Okay.
if there's anything that's
Yeah,
somebody else.
No, that's perfect. That's what I meant in shortened version.
How about someone else? Linda, is there anything that comes to mind for you, or Eric or Shannon?
Sorry, I got kicked out because
Oh.
my computer froze. And so I feel like I'm a little late to the party here of what the question was.
Sure. So the youth are asking us to brainstorm about skills and dispositions that the youth you're working with or are familiar with bring to the work of fighting prejudice, bias, and hate.
Well, I'm not working with very many youth directly, but I do have a youth here who I raised on the screen, Nick Philbeck. So
Yeah.
I can't really take so much credit, but I can say that I helped to raise someone who's working. I don't know. He and his brother, I think, are advocates at least, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't. I'm the chief probation officer, so I don't work with any clients directly. I just work with the staff that I hire. So
That is important. Any of the other participants here in the room, are there things that you would like to add that you think the youth are bringing to the table on this? For those just joining us, we're in a kickoff breakout room here, and then we'll all go back to the main session where Dr. Milks and the students will be. They've asked us to think about the skills and dispositions that you're familiar with bring to the work of fighting prejudice, bias, and hate. I certainly think there's an open-mindedness among the youth. Anybody else? I think we're waking up this morning. Nick, you work with youth. Do you want to chime in even as tech host?
I mean, I think that there are a lot of different sort of like dispositions you can bring to that, and I think a lot of it depends on like the setting. And so for me, like my disposition generally is to at least like initially try to approach things with like curiosity and approach things trying to just understand like what things are like. And so going in not with like expectations or feeling like I need to do something right away, but more to understand it in the initial parts, and then like figure out sort of how can I fit this situation best, how can I contribute to this best. So I think a lot of like my disposition in the beginning of things is to try to understand what's going on and not try to like influence things in a particular way or like speak up necessarily at first, but rather understand where I can best fit those things. And then like once I feel comfortable and feel like I have enough sort of knowledge of the situation, then speaking up and trying to influence it in some kind of way.
Thank you. That's really. Any of those of you who haven't spoken up yet? I think we're going to be closing up here fairly soon. You can also type in the URL slide if you need to. We're group 6.
All right. Well, we think we're ready to whisk folks back.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You want me to give them a minute warning or just close it out?
You can give them a minute warning. We can do a little stretch here before the kids have to talk.
We still have a minute if anyone has last minute thoughts.
As you're coming back, look at this line of youth behind me. Yeah, they're ready. They're ready to talk, but they're also ready to hear from you. So we are really interested in hearing from a couple groups. We're not going to be able to hear from everybody today. We actually went and looked at the workspace. So we actually, in addition to popping in, we read everybody's comments. We know that not everything in the conversation showed up in the slides, and that's okay too. So let's hear from room 3. Is there somebody from room 3 who'd like to unmute themselves and talk a little bit about what they noticed, what was interesting? Just a really quick hit.
Yeah, I could talk.
Brave, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, it took me a minute to unmute. My name is Jessie Yeri. I'm from South Central Community Action Program. I got to work with Mandy and Brittany. We came up with a couple ideas. We think that just younger generations don't have as many preconceived notions. They might have more of an open mind and be more accepting of different people. And that we think is due to just seeing different people and interacting with different people. Just not only seeing them on mainstream media, but also interacting with them in their daily life. So then they don't have as many prejudices. And then also they have more access to fighting prejudice. They can sign petitions, they can join marches and hear about all these different activism activities that are going on. It's a lot easier maybe to get involved these days. So yeah, those are our main points.
Sure. Thank
Yeah.
you. Someone in group 4 is typing. Hey,
Yeah.
Julia, Ashley, and Jeff, what were you thinking? Just a minute or two.
Well, we are, for some reason, a couple of us kept having issues with our slides swapping. And so I'm trying to type in what was being said because it got put on
No,
slide 3.
I wasn't calling you out. I was just like, which one will we do next? And
So it was like,
tell us a
oh
little bit about,
no.
no, you're doing great. Tell us a little bit about what your group talked about.
Well, I think several things that were already mentioned. We also had, so their perspective on things, having more access to information, understanding social media as a tool for sharing information, receiving information, their organizational skills. So they're really good at organizing groups to advocate for things. And we also, someone in our group also shared that willingness to be open to new ideas and change and those kinds of things. So several overlaps with what group 3 had to say.
That's so wonderful. Thank you all. We are going to let our youth take it from here. Ruth, in a moment, can you give me a vigorous nod if you can see the slide? Great, thank you. All right, friends, take it away. You have to be in the camera. I'm going to stand here. You have to be next to me close enough that they can see you. It's going to be great. Okay, go.
Hi, so we actually did the same activity as you guys did. And so we asked, what skills and disposition do youth bring to the work of fighting prejudice, bias, and hate? And honestly, like our answers were very similar to you guys's. And I find that very interesting for so many reasons, but it's kind of nice to see that we're on the same page, at least in this setting with these people.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay, so we did the brainstorm. Next up,
we're going to introduce the Speak Up at School framework from Learning for Justice.
cool.
The Speak Up at School framework is a guide for adults responding to prejudice, bias, and stereotypes. It includes a helpful practice section so adults can skill up themselves as well.
4 ways for adults to stand up to bias, prejudice, stereotypes, and other oppressive speech. Interrupt. Speak up against every bigoted and prejudiced remark every time in the moment without exception. Think about what you'll say ahead of time so you're prepared to act instantly. Try saying, I don't like words like that, or that phrase was hurtful.
Question. Ask simple questions in response to hateful remarks to find out why the speaker made the offensive comment and how you can best address the situation. Try asking, why do you say that? What do you mean? Or tell me more.
Educate. Explain why a term or phrase is offensive. Encourage the person to choose a different expression. Hate isn't behind all hateful speech. Sometimes ignorance is at work or lack of exposure to a diverse population. Try saying, do you know what the history of that word is? Echo. If someone else speaks up against hate, thank them and reiterate their anti-bigotry message. One person's voice is a powerful start. Many voices together create change. Try saying, thanks for speaking up, Allison. I agree that word is offensive and we shouldn't use it. So back to our plan for today. This is number 3, our take, how youth can modify and use speak up. Interrupt.
Wait, hang on. So we spent, sorry, we need to set the setting for a second. So we spent a whole day digging into these and thinking about when they work really well for youth. Remember, this framework is an adult framework. And so here is what our youth group thought would be useful or when we would use each of these different strategies. Game on.
So interrupt is good when there's immediate danger. And it's great when someone doesn't really know what a word or a phrase means or its history. And it's also excellent to use in friend groups, in person or via text. Also questioning, it's good when others are empowered due to age, status, etc. It helps you figure out that someone doesn't know a word or a phrase history or meaning. And it's a great lead-in to another strategy and buys you some time to think.
And then educate. It's excellent when you are a person that's holding power in the situation. Normally that's can be in like a situation where you're like the older and you're talking to maybe even a kid or a teenager. And it's also great if you're educated on a particular topic. So if you're an expert in an area of study, then you have more insight on that than the average person. So you have a really good spot to educate them. It's also great if you have leverage in that social group. it's easier to educate those people and have them understand and comprehend the stuff you're saying.
Yeah, or if like, you know, the person who's saying something and you know something about that like directly applies to the situation. Cool, thanks.
And then for echo, as you all know, the probably the common saying, like, there's power in numbers, and it's so true. And echoing also helps the first person who took that brave and like a risky step to come forward and call out someone or something. And so that helps. And then more voices also help the person or the speaker that maybe has said the offensive thing or not great thing to really question why they said that or their reasoning for it.
Yeah, sure. Oh no, I made a terrible life choice. There we go.
Hi, me again. So so after all of this, we still have some questions that we think would be really helpful for you guys to think about and brainstorm. So how do you know when to end the speaking out? How can youth really identify trusted adults for advice and or help when it's necessary? And, we realize that it might not always be safe for all youth affiliate professionals to speak up every single time. So if so, how can you guys still help?
Yeah.
All right. So through this work, we've learned youth already have a lot to bring to the work of fighting prejudice, bias, and hate. We also learned the Speak Up at School framework for learning from Learning for Justice is a great resource for youth affiliated professionals. And finally, Speak Up can be modified and unpacked to be a powerful resource for youth who want to skill up.
So excitingly, we have for you, I'm going to drop this off. I know many of you will be meeting at Youth Services tomorrow. Is that where tomorrow's meeting in person is? I think it is. I can't join you because it's finals, but we actually printed out these super adorable, let me stop my share for a second. These super adorable Speak Up at School booklets. So you too will have these ideas as an adult who works with youth in your pocket. They're super cute. They open to the same things the youth just showed you. And we hope that in your role as an adult who works with youth, or maybe just as an adult at large in life, that it will be helpful to you. So in these last couple minutes, we know that it can be really rare for people to get an opportunity to speak directly with young people. We have a whole room of young people who are really invested in making sure that our community is one that is inclusive and vibrant. So at this point, we would love to take some questions. You can either drop them in the chat. If it's something you feel privately about, you can message me here. And I'm going to post from the other computer in a moment a list of the resources again, because all the resources are on the last slide of your workspace. So if you were in that document, you go all the way down, you'll be able to see all of the things. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now. If anybody has any questions, we would love to take them.
Well, I want to say thank you to you and all the students. And I really do want to encourage those of you who are in this space to take advantage of this invitation. So I'm going to stop talking and give someone else an opportunity to speak up or put something in the chat.
I've got one. Heck yeah, I'm going to ask kids. So
fabulous, they are here.
So I would like to know from our students there, what is it that they feel like as adults, they aren't getting supports from us enough in this realm? So what are things that we can do to be supportive of them and uplift their voices?
Hang on. And we're good. Go.
A couple of things I would personally be more interested in learning about is kind of a deeper look at what are some practices that are backed up by evidence that's used in literature? What are some frameworks that are used to kind of look at combating bias? I guess more higher level, I guess more theoretical stuff maybe, as well as I would find it really interesting if we could see more specific example practices. We hear a lot of strategies and we try to work with examples, but I feel a lot of the activities that I've gone through have been trying to treat situations as very black and white, and oftentimes it's much more nuanced than that. So I think that would be nice if we could gain more experience working with activities that are nuanced, as well as like seeing what like literature is saying maybe.
Cool, thank you.
Also on that, there's a lot of instances where like teens and youth will go up to a person in charge or leadership in a specific area and bring up these problems. And those people in charge really do care about these problems, but there's a lot of times it doesn't, like, things don't happen to implement solutions. So I think just like an awareness of like continually wanting to check that things are happening and progress is being made versus just acknowledging that it's something that needs to be fixed and leaving it at that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, I don't know if you feel like this is true, especially in the aftermath of the last couple years, we really want things to be easy as humans. You know what I mean? Like we want to be able to check a box and be like, yes, done. And the thing that we've really learned in the years that, I mean, some of us have been working together with this group for many years now, is that like the situation changes, like the landscape changes. The skills they bring change, but it's also important, I think, to make sure that you're really thinking about, okay, like what are the next steps, and like where can we also like celebrate and reflect, right? Making this presentation, and I hope seeing your ideas out in a public space has been that for you all, at least a little bit. I don't want to voluntold anybody, but was anybody here for Hannah's spring training about comfort levels? And somebody won't feel comfortable talking about that? No, here. I don't know, Hannah, if you did one at MCYC too, did you? No, just here. Somebody here want to talk about that? So I think, yeah, do you want to do it? Hang on, we're going to do wait time. Hang on, adults. Do you want to do it? You want to talk about it? They're all looking at each other. Okay, so one of the things I appreciated most about Hannah's perspective is this idea about safety. So I think our young people are trying to figure out and understand that this grows about what your personal safety is in any one moment. And that could be physical safety, but could also be like social safety and like reputation safety. There are lots of different ideas about that I think are pretty helpful. So that's another thing that I think that as you think about how the work evolves, remembering that as youth skill up, their capacity for skilling up will also increase. So I think, you know, like oftentimes I want to like run a program in my life and be like, ta-da, there's a badge, right? But what then ends up happening is that people end up being able to do a lot more than I would have anticipated. So just making sure that you're constantly reflecting on like, where are the youth I work with now? Where's the community we work with now is really helpful.
Someone else must have another question.
I do. I have a question. So you work within a school system that's pretty large and it's full of adults. And so I'm just wondering how this approach has worked maybe within your own system and within the power dynamics of, like you said, who's in charge and who's holding the room. And I'm just kind of wondering how that works in a large organization like the school.
I think Dana's asking a question about students and adults, right? Which is a different question from what we've been thinking about, which is students and students at this time, right? Because that's really been our focus this trimester. So does anybody want to talk though at large about kind of like when things are going well, right? When there's a room where things are going well and a teacher is really thinking about, like Dana said, these power dynamics with respect to speech. What does that look like? What does that sound like? Come to the microphone, young person. Come on, you flinched, so now you have to come talk to the masses. Come on. Come here and just look at them and say a thing, and then you can go back to feel embarrassed on the chair. It's gonna be great. What's one thing that happens when things are going well?
It just makes everybody feel like secure. It just it can make school go a lot smoother. It can get people through a bad day. Just if you get that support from a teacher.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hi. So personally, like in things that I've gone through
Louder.
with the school corporation and just teachers as a whole, like if you take an issue to them and they are very affirming and accepting, and they actually provide you like progress and feedback, it's really helpful and affirming, and it makes it feel like you're actually getting something done, and it kind of encourages you to continue bringing issues instead of just going, oh well.
Well, and I think, as in a situation that happened recently, you actually felt really heard and really empowered in a really positive way. So I think it does make, to this point that Dana's talking about, even in a building, how many people are in this building every day? Is it like 1,700 people? Plus 1,700 people in this building every day? There are opportunities for youth to really feel like they have agency in making this community a place that is welcoming and reflective of inclusivity and diversity. What you got, man?
And another thing
Closer.
that-
If you look, here's your face, and you have to be like in the square. Great, good talk.
Another thing that adults can do, especially like in our school, to help build community is listening to students a lot. I mean, I know that a lot of teachers, like, they have to go through their lesson plans and all that stuff, but if extra time in the class or at the beginning of class, just having teachers listening to the lives of the students or engaging in conversations that aren't necessarily super class specific can help build that sense of community and safety in a classroom.
Yeah, and especially if you are someone who is like just starting out in working with young people, it can be hard to figure out how much of that you do, right? But how much of my interpersonal stuff is in my classroom. And I just wanted to say, for those of you who are running programs with young people, you do it together. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we spend separate time in here being like, how are you? Right? It's that we work together, and that stuff is integrated into the work we do. We were having this conversation, some grownups in this building, about how if this type of work is going really well, you don't stop and you do a standard day where it's like, okay, today we're going to teach you how to speak up to, right? It's that those get integrated into the work of your organization, the work of what you're trying to accomplish with youth. So thanks for that. Any other students, any other youth have stuff to say about this question? Two of them are avoiding eye contact so strenuously. It's just amazing. You'd be amazed. We still have a couple minutes if anybody has a question. Eventually, I'll pull them up.
Well, I'm curious. They have mentioned the importance of feedback and progress reports when an issue is raised. How do you like to receive that feedback? How has that worked well?
So you bring an issue to an adult facilitator, right, in the roles that many of you find yourself. You bring an issue to a trusted adult in the community. And then when things are going well, what kind of follow up or next steps happen from your perspective? This one kid in the front row has not looked at me for the past 15 minutes. Yeah, hi. Yeah, it's good. Anybody want to answer it? Yeah, I got it. Ha! Thank you, child.
I don't have much to say on the format, but I think that getting that feedback back would be amazing, because I know of multiple instances where they just never got any more information on the topic. It's just a issue that was told, and then they just don't get anything back ever and don't know what happened, or just anything with that.
Yeah. And I think, I see from your titles that a couple people who are in the seminar today work in the criminal justice system. In that setting, in school settings, probably in all settings where we work with youth, sometimes issues come up where the person who's bringing the issue to the adult can never hear the full story back, right? There are privacy concerns for adults, there are privacy concerns for youth and in other settings and for families, right? And I think that in my this is my 13th year teaching now. And I think that it took me a long time to realize that even if you can't say what's happening, even circling back with a young person and saying, hey, it's been a couple days, I can't actually tell you what's going on, but I wanted to let you know that I feel confident that next steps are happening. That can help close the loop of the student thinking and worrying about that in a way where when they go back to revisit those ideas, you feel more peaceful about them. And it can be, I think, really helpful to help feel like students are being supported. So I'd say if you are someone who's dealing with interpersonal conflict or power dynamics and a student brings something to you, that follow-up, even if you don't have any more information to share, I mean, it's been really helpful in a couple situations here.
I'm curious, thinking about the piece you pulled forward earlier about safety, like if any of the students have thoughts about when they would rather have an adult intervene versus giving youth space to intervene.
So you're in a shared space. You're at the park, you're in a situation where you're with some adults, or there are adults who are involved in that situation. How much do you want to try to take care of it first, right? Are there things that make you more likely to be like, oh yeah, I got this, right? We can take care of this together. Or are there some situations where you're like, yeah, I'm going to need an adult facilitator in our shared community for help?
I think a really specific instance, like where maybe students or like teens want to handle it primarily like just first is in friend groups, because they want to address it and bring it up before they feel like an outsider is coming in and like questioning things. But as soon as that gets out of like a friend group and turns to just like a classmate or another teen, it can feel really uncomfortable to even like just talk to that person. And so adult intervention is really helpful as like as soon as it gets out of like a friend group or a really like connected group.
Yeah. And that's what makes this thing so helpful. And here it is. And the resource that comes with it is that, like, you know, when I started learning to do this work, I actually went to a training from the organization that is now Learning for Justice. And they made us practice. And so in the back of the full resource guide, which is linked, there are scenarios of uncomfortable things that happen to teachers in schools, and you get to practice what that feels like and what you might say in that context. So super helpful. Cool. Anybody else? We talked about friend groups a lot. Can I summarize the thing that we talked about in friend groups? Where, like, is anyone on this call named Chad? Is there a Chad in the call? Okay, great. So I'm sorry if your name is Chad or if your friends call you Chad, but we're going to make up this imaginary friend the kids have whose name is Chad, right? And Chad is just a pothole in the group text, like all the time, right? Like Chad is always saying things where they're like, oh, ha, 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 it was just a joke, right? So like, it's interesting because I think one thing that youth are pretty good at doing is realizing when they have to be like, Chad, no. And saying, Chad, I'm sorry, we have to make a new group text without you. You know what I mean? Like there are situations where young people need, and everybody needs, a lot of different exposures to someone standing up and you know, pulling them in and saying, hey, I just, that's not okay, or whatever it looks like from this collection of resources. So we know that behavior change and that kind of like framework change happens in youth, but all of those of you who work with youth know that it can take a lot of separate exposures and quite some time. We have 5 minutes. Is there one last question? If not, I'm going to volunteer Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, you know I have questions.
Stephanie's, remember Stephanie? Stephanie's going to ask you a question.
Stephanie on sabbatical, Stephanie here. So
love you. Oh, just so you know, Stephanie has worked with this group for many years and is currently on sabbatical, so we haven't gotten to see her shining face. Hello, darling.
Hello, CLB. So going back to thinking about your strengths, I would like to know what situations you have been in as youth that adults recognized and utilized your strengths, but still not giving up on the fact that you're learning. You know what I mean? That edge that you're still learning, but your strengths are being honored and you're leaning into those. Can you give us some examples of ways in which adults honor your strengths, hearkening back to the first activity?
We got one.
One time I remember was when adults told me how to get to the next steps without doing them for me, like saying, oh, you should email this person if you want to see this happen, or you should contact this other person, and giving me the tools to do it by myself. And that felt really powerful.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi. Another thing I think is really important is just like affirming that individual, like that, yeah, you're doing okay. Because it can kind of be scary if like you're speaking out as an individual and like you're questioning, like, is this actually the right thing to do and everything like that. So just having that support and be like, yeah, you're doing the right thing, or at least, you know, you're following what you believe, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I see you do that. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other youth before I add something? So I wanted to say one thing that is particularly powerful in this regard. And again, there are privacy concerns, like I understand, but not just connecting, like Grace was suggesting, this is important. I know an adult who can help you, right? This is whom you should message, right? Like that conversation you and I had on Monday. Oh yeah, you should email this person and this person and this person, right? But there's this other piece about, oh, hey, this other youth has an interest. This other youth group is also interested in that. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's one of the things that people who are youth workers have a lot that they can share is knowing else what's happening in the community and nationally on the things that we care about and that our youth care about. So facilitating those connections is really powerful.
Oh, Dr. Melks, you have to come to my session, or anybody that's interested in that theme right there. I'm presenting on that this afternoon. That's an inductive theme of my own research, that youth say that it really helps when we as adults make connections for them with other, adults who might be in positions of power, or with other youth who are interested in the same things. And it's not us taking over, but it's them becoming more connected and empowered. Thanks so much.
Yay. Great minds. Stephanie, it's always nice to see you. And it's nice to see all of you who came to a session to hear youth present about things that are hard, right? Like this is work. And I'm really proud of our young people for getting to do that work. So first off, here one more time is the shared workspace. I'm going to close it so it can't be edited anymore, but I will leave that link and I'll make sure they're in the MC3 information sessions. If you would like your name removed from that presentation for public privacy, you'll have until the end of today to do so. So you can take your name out of the contributor box if you would like to. And my last favor is, could you all please unmute your microphones and or clap? I'm going to turn the camera this way. Can you say thank you to the people, please?
Yay, CLB.
Thank you.
Way to go.
You've done good. Look at
Good
them
to see you
all.
all.
Thank you so much, everybody. We're going to take off.
Well, thank you. This has been a great presentation, and I think it's not only youth that are trying to learn these things, it's also some of us grown-ups. And so thanks to everybody who came. The slides and recording will be available on the Btcc website after the summit, so you can refer other people who you think would benefit from this information, and you can refresh your own memory. We are going to be closing this room, but I will put in the chat as I look over here, the URL where you can go and find the remaining virtual sessions for this morning and click on the links to join those. I hope you all found this good use of your time. I certainly did, and we appreciate all of you joining us today. Enjoy the rest of the summit today and tomorrow if you're coming with us.
Thank you. And also there's a link to provide feedback for this and other sessions. So please do so today or sometime soon. And we welcome any feedback that you have. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Nick. I forgot that part.